Hello, welcome to this CSS tutorial. My name is Stephen Nati, and in this tutorial, we're talking about attribute selectors, right? So, this is my HTML code, and I have three divs. This is div number one, this is div number two, yeah, and then this is div number three. That is that right here. So, what are we trying to achieve? We are trying to again give styles to our HTML page right here, and we'll be targeting the attributes of this HTML page. So to begin with, let's go with the all elements with the attribute of title. So this is our code. Let's look for all elements with the attribute of title, and let's give it a star, right? So when we come to our anchor tag over here, we have a title attribute right here that says publisher's website. Also, when we come to our p element here, we have a title attribute that says a paragraph with title, right? Yeah. And then when we come to our p element right here, also we have our title which says deprecated. And then when we come to our list, also here we have a title which says to Renwick publishing website. And then when we come to generally that I've declared a title in most of the codes. Okay, we don't have a title here, we don't have a title here. Okay, so and that is that. So these are the only places where we have our title, and we would want to give all the titles in this code, and we want to style it. So to begin with, let's go to our CSS file and let's say title. So we'll give it a square bracket, then we'll type title. Now this is the declaration for selecting all the title elements. So if you want to select all attributes of a specific element, this is how you declare it. So let's give it a border of 1 pixels, solid and black, right? So you can see in our code that a border right here has been achieved. It says Renwick Publications, and then this paragraph has also has a title attribute, right? And then the HTML element center. So you see that center here also has a title attribute. So let's also give it, let's say, a padding of 3 pixels. Okay, now I wanted you to see it very much. Now you can see it better now. So that is that for the title attribute. I mean, selecting all attributes of a particular element. So which is in this case we selected the title attribute. Now let's go to our next one, which is yeah, I forgot one thing. Let's also try to select only the anchor tags that has the title of and the attribute title. So let's go back to our HTML code. Okay, and we don't want the p. Okay, we want only the anchor tags that have the attribute title. When you look at this anchor tag, it has the attribute title, right? Now this p element, mind you, we don't want it. Okay, so let's look for p element right here. We don't want it. So that we have an anchor tag over that has a title. So let's select it and then let's give it a star. So to select it, we write our anchor tag a and then square bracket and then declare our title. So this is how it is being done. We've selected all title attributes that are in the anchor tag. All anchor tags with an attribute of title. So that is that. So we give it a text decoration of, let's say, none, right? And then font weight, let's give it a font weight of bold. So now we see right here, I don't think this, okay, I know what to do. So let's look at our, let me give it a background color of hashtag pink. Now we can see it very clearly. So we see that all the anchor tags that have the attribute of title has been selected. Okay, and we have how many of them? 1, 2, 3 of them. So that is that for the first part. Now the second part is we want to select just a specific value. Okay, we don't want to select all the title attributes. We only want to select the value in the title attribute. Okay, so let's go back to our code and let's look at this. So we have our anchor tag over here which says to Renwick publication website, right? Let's also get another one. We have a p tag over here with a title which is title deprecated. So let's select this and let's give it a style. So we are going for the title and the p element, that's an attribute of title, and a value of deprecated. Do you understand? So you realize that in my code, I've given it a code again. Look at this. I just want to select this and give it a style. So what do you think it will select? It will select this center because that is what we have selected. That is what we have grouped. So let's give this a star and let's see what we'll be getting. So back to my CSS file. I'll write, let's say, title, right? And then now, because I want to give it a value that which was in the HTML code, um the value was deprecated, right? So we want to give it that value in our CSS file. So we give it so we'll say equal to, then two semi sorry, colons, and then we'll write deprecated, right? And then let's say we'll give it a color of red, and then let's say we'll give it a text decoration of line through. So now this is what I'm referring to, this center right here. You see, this is the HTML element center. So this is what I'm referring to. And you see that it gave it when I you see that you can see some deprecated right there. So this is what I'm referring to. So you see that we've given styles to this particular attribute that has the value of deprecated, and it's being given a text of center. So that is another that is how you can also select attribute with a specific value. Okay, now let's go for attribute that has a value but it is separated by at least one space. So let's go back to our HTML code and let's look for remake publications. So let's say now this is what I'm referring to. This now you see that this has a title. The anchor tag has a title of two. No, this this. The anchor tag has a title of to remake publications website, and I'm saying that we are selecting this attribute. Okay, the attribute of title that has a value with at least one space. So to be able to do this, we'll go back to our CSS file and let's see. So mind you, it has a title. Said the attribute is title. So we want to square bracket then title, right? And then the the symbol for selecting a value inside an attribute with at least one space is the tilde symbol, right? So we go for tilde symbol, then we'll add equal to, since we are is being assigned the value of railway um publications website something something. So we'll just put our two um columns right there and then add it railway publishing, let's say publishing, right? And then we'll give it a font weight of, let's say, bold, and then a color of, let's say, 099C. So that is that. Okay, this is not even visible. Let's give it a color of, let's say, aquamarine. No, okay, a color of red. Let's say a color of red. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, wait, let me see what is wrong with it. Remake publishing. Right. Let's go back to our code and let's see. To Renwick publishing website. Aha, the mistake is for me. So it says Renwick, Rhein, and then in my HTML code I wrote Rhein. N was supposed to come. So N right there. Now let's see what will happen. Now you see that we have our Renwick Verlag to have a color of red and a font weight of bold. So and you see that when we hover over it, we are getting to Remake publishing website. So basically this is what the title does. It displays information about the particular element. So let's that is that. Let's go to the next one. It says what we want to do now is to declare a style to a string that is separated by a hyphen. So when you go to our HTML code, let's look for a string. A string are a sequence of characters. So let's look for strings that are separated by hyphen. This is one of them, alright. But we'll not do with this. Let's look for a different one. So yes, let's look for href language. So this is that. So we want to give styles to this href language, and eventually to give styles to this US English version, right? So let's go with this list. Let's give it a style. Okay. So back to our code. Mind you, we are dealing with attributes, not the elements themselves. So square bracket, then let's see href language. The symbol for declaring a value that is separated by at least that is separated by a hyphen is the a vertical line, one vertical line like this. Then we assign it to that particular value. So what was the value? It was um sorry en, then us. So let's give it a font weight of bold, and then a color of, let's say, brown. So you look at this right beneath the lyric at Wikipedia, that is in blue text, German language. Right beneath it, we have US English version. Let's move on to talk about attribute with a partial value. So we want to select this attribute, all of this href attribute, all of it, and when we look at our value, you realize that we can be able to select a value from this whole list of characters, right? From this whole string, we want to pick one or two values from them, okay, and then give it a star. So we'll end up giving the star to report number 1, right? It will end up giving a star to it. So to be able to do that, we'll go to our CSS file, and mind you, back in my HTML code, I've given a class to the last UL item, that is a class of UL. So that is that. And then back to my CSS file. So we want to give the start to the last list item on other list items. So let's say .ul, then anchor tags, right? So anchor tags. Then now you are targeting the attribute. So what attribute was it? It was href. Now to be able to select an attribute with a partial value, this is what you do. Select the symbol with an arrow at the top. So here it comes, and then equal to, right? And then now, oh, you select your attribute. So let's say you are given http, then it's a partial value, it's not the full URL, right? Then let's say you're giving it a star, or let's say background color of black. So you realize that our background color has been black, right? Let's say color of white. Padding of 0.3 em. Now you see what I'm talking about. So this is exactly what I mean, right? Now the next one is, let's there is one particular symbol, that is the dollar symbol. That one too can help us achieve the same results, selecting an attribute with a partial value, right? So let's go back to our HTML code. Now let's say we see .pdf, right? We see .pdf. There is it, an anchor tag with an href, and then the value is document.pdf, and then we want to give style to this PDF document. Okay. So what we can do is, we will only select this one, this PDF. We will only select it, and then we'll be able to give styles to the PDF document. So let's go back to our CSS file, and then now as you can see, you realize that I gave a class of div, right? This is it, a class of div. So back to my CSS file. Now let's go to the div, then then oh sorry dot div, then anchor tags, right? So anchor tags, then now let's see what we have. We have href, right? Href. Now we can, mind you, the symbol is the dollar symbol. So dollar symbol equals, then what are we getting? PDF. So let's see what it will start, this PDF document right here. So let's give it a background color of black. You realize that I started this PDF document right here. Let's give it a padding of 2 em, and let's see what will happen. Now you look at, let's give it a color of white. This is what I wanted to show you. Now you see right here in our PDF document, it has been given a padding, a very big one, and then it has been styled. That is that. Now mind you, the dollar symbol can only be used once in a page. So I'm saying that the dollar symbol can only be used once per page. Get this, and then you'll be good to go. So the next one we want to do is to give also a partial value, right? But this time around, we want to select a partial value that is in a string. Mind you, all of the values are in a string, and there are different ways to achieve this same result you want to achieve. Okay, and you can also use what I'm coming to show you. There's also a partial, selecting a partial value. So let's select the same PDF element. Okay, so the div anchor tag, then let's say href, right? Now we'll use the multiplication symbol, right? And then it selects attribute which contains values within a string, and those values are partial. Okay, so you're selecting just a partial value. Just get it that way. So we say this, and then equal to, then now let's go back to our, so what this thing can we select here? That will be a partial value. So we can select the doc, right? So instead of a document, you can select the doc, right? So let's select the doc, and then let's give it a color of, let's say, red. Now you see what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And let me clarify something. You realize that if I give my the moment I declare, let me delete it again. This one, I give it a double quote, but when I save it, VS Code gives it a single quote. This is because I've made my settings to be a single quote formatting default style. So if even if I give it a double quote, it will when I save it, it will become a single quote. You realize? So that is that. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. In summary, we've talked about the all attribute selector. We've also talked about the attribute with a specific value. We also talked about the attribute with um, at least one space between them, right? We also talked about attribute with partial values, right? So that is that. Let me enlarge it for you to see. This is that. That is my code. I'll see you when I see you. See you in my next video. Bye bye.